This is the Willis Twin Tower Show, right here on the Ballroom Network. We're here to rock and bring you the dirt. Tim and Jeff debating on the screen with the Podfather, although behind the scenes they say the Irish bring luck. All we know is the Packers suck. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow. You've been waiting for this night all week. It's time for the Twins to speak. So sit down in that chair. Let's give it up for the Bears.
Feels like game day, doesn't it?
Teams are all gritty, all hail the Windy City. The Twins on play, and it's time to go Super Saiyan. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow.
Man, what a great new intro that was.
Yeah.
Welcome back, guys. Another edition of the Willis Twin Towers podcast. Quick round of applause for our executive producer, Aldo Gandia. What an awesome new intro, like I said. Love it, Aldo. That's the first time Tim and I have even seen it, guys. So you're not alone in that. It's a debut for us all. So we appreciate your hard work on that, Aldo. It's terrific. We got a great show for you planned tonight, guys. Obviously, a big week, training camp practices. There was a live scrimmage today with the Miami Dolphins, and we'll get into that a little bit. There's the preseason game coming up. There's discussion about the starters and most of them who will not be playing. There's a lot of, I don't want to say vitriol, but there's a lot of people who aren't real happy about that. So we'll dig into that a little bit too. But a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, and what we're seeing from practice ourselves, from what we've seen other people talk about. Reporters are on the sidelines themselves. So we'll get into that stuff. Tim, do you have any initial thoughts for us here before we kind of get into everything?
There was a lot to dissect this week in the press conferences, specifically with there was something almost every day, it seemed like. So nothing in particular I want to start with, but I would say that if you guys don't know, the Bears did have that joint practice today with the Miami Dolphins. There was some information in the press conferences about that. There's some stadium news. If you guys haven't heard that, we'll get into that. But tomorrow, first day of football, fellas and ladies, first day of the season. Yes, it's the preseason, but it's our first chance to see the Bears in live action. Whether it's the starters or not, we should be getting a heavy dose of Tyson Bagent, which a lot of us would like to see in this new offense. Even if he is the backup quarterback, we all love Tyson still. But they're getting a lot of work today in that joint practice. The starters did. And I believe Ben Johnson said 9 offensive and 9 defensive starters he expected to not play tomorrow. So should be interesting how that goes tomorrow. And I'm sure that they got in plenty of reps. So I'm excited. I'm super excited. Like I said, there was a lot in today's presser. Let's see where, let's start with, go ahead, Jeff. Did you have something? I thought you were saying something. Oh, no.
Well, I will remind everybody, though, before you get going, just a quick reminder, guys, as always, we do have the email address, as Aldo had rolling across the screen there just a second ago. If you have any suggestions for us for content, any questions for us you want us to address on a future show, feel free to email us at Willis Twin Towers Podcast at gmail.com. And as always, you can also obviously get in the chat here when we're live, ask us any questions, mention anything you want to get into. We'll do our best to address it on the show. So again, that email is Willis Twin Towers Podcast at gmail.com. And also do us a favor, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Give us all a follow on X or Twitter. I'm at _ Jeff Willis. Tim is at Tim Willis 24. And our executive producer, Aldo Gandia, of course, is at Barroom Network. So go ahead with your point, Tim.
I'm honestly just trying to figure out where to start with this because there, like I said earlier, there's a lot here. Obviously, the big thing that the players, especially this week, mentioned, number one, is the intensity of practices. And number two, just the difference in the culture with Ben Johnson. Every player mentioned something about the culture and Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, how they're shaping each side of the ball and how they're shaping the locker room with these players and how everything is in the we keep hearing details, how sharp they are on those details and how Ben Johnson's football mind is, how incredibly impressive it is. But let's go ahead and start with this really quick. Like I said earlier, today they had that joint practice with the Dolphins. And there was some hoopla, for lack of a better word, that the Dolphins wide receivers were struggling to even get off the line because of how physical the Bears corners were playing against them. And that's saying something because the Dolphins got 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers over there. And the Bears don't have Jalen Johnson right now. Let's remember that. So their number 1 and number 2 corner at the moment are Tyreek Stevenson and Nahshon Wright. And I'm hearing nothing but good things from this Nahshon Wright kid he's not a rookie. He's been playing for a few years. He's kind of bounced around the league. But there's a lot of good things we're hearing coming from Halas Hall on this kid, from coaches to teammates. Go ahead.
Real quick, Tim, Aldo, if you can post that graphic back on the screen, I want to read that off for you guys. This is a really good insight here from a Miami reporter who was reporting on the Dolphins, and it goes along with what Tim is saying. And before I read it, just a quick backstory here. Dennis Allen was talking about in a press conference. I can't remember if it was this last one or the one before, about how important it was for our corners to be able to press receivers on the line of scrimmage, disrupt their timing, disrupt the spots where they're supposed to be. And the tweet reads, "The Dolphins' offensive line isn't doing bad, but these wide receivers clearly aren't used to playing these physical corners. Tons of players being rerouted. Tua is throwing to spots and no receiver is there. That's not the norm." So that's exactly what you're talking about, Tim. That's exactly what Dennis Allen was talking about. You disrupt the timing, you disrupt the route, you disrupt these guys getting to where they're supposed to be. It throws off the passing game. So now, if your pass rush isn't going as well as you'd like it to, now you've disrupted the back end of with your defense. So you can't make plays on that end. Now your defense is working in harmony. It kind of goes along with what Ben Johnson was talking about in a recent press conference. And he was talking about how, sometimes not everything is going to go perfect with your team. You're always going to have an issue, somewhere in a given play, whether it's one guy gets beat in doing his job, or another guy runs the wrong route, or a guy is in the wrong spot. But if another guy is there to kind of help clean up the mess and everybody else around him is doing their jobs the right way, it can make up for a lot of that kind of stuff. And that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about here with the defense. So let's say you're in a situation where you're in a third down, you're not getting great pressure right off the bat. Well, all these receivers that are running routes are getting pressed on the line of scrimmage and disrupting their timing. Well, now your defense, your defense is able to generate pressure that way because you have more time to get there. So again, like I said, working in harmony, cohesion, when everything's not going perfect, somebody's doing better to help kind of lighten the load, if that makes sense. So I didn't mean to interrupt you too much there, Tim, but I wanted to get that tweet on the screen because that's a really good indicator of what's going on here.
No, thank you for doing that. And like I said, this is to see something like that. Number one, coming from a Miami reporter. Number two, like I said, we don't have Jalen Johnson right now. So that means that we have a guy who's not even going to be one of our starting corners that's been also, like I mentioned, a journeyman player in the NFL. That speaks to me, to the coaching, because that tells me that Dennis Allen has been on these guys about the physicality, and every day everybody is doing the same thing. Everybody is being pushed the same way, maybe not treated the same way, but everybody's being treated to the same standard like we talked about last week. And that tells me that if this is the case for the corners, I can imagine it's like this for everybody. The entire defense is going to play with this physicality all year, which is what we wanted. This is what we want in a Bears defense. And to me, it was like the Matt Eberflus defense it was a solid defense. He was clearly a pretty decent coordinator, knew how to call plays, but the defense was never nasty, which is what we have all been wanting, to bring back the old Bears defense. That's what they're known for, is that nasty, physical, we're going to throw your face into the dirt. And we have not seen that in a few years.
I heard Tremaine Edmonds threw a guy to the ground today. Tremaine Edmonds of all guys, if he ain't the most mild-mannered guy at the podium you ever seen, I don't know who is. But if you can get him doing that on the football field, man, because you ain't seen that too much from him either in that regard. So it's good to hear that. But I agree with you, Tim. And to kind of dig into your point a little bit more, the defense, from what we've heard today, really, really played well against Miami's offense, and they looked really good, and they were pretty successful. I guess the defensive line was getting after it. They were getting a lot of pressure. There were several 11-on-11 periods where the defense won. There was one in particular. I can't remember exactly who tweeted. I want to say it was Adam Johns, but he tweeted the sequence. It was like the first play, I believe, was an incomplete pass, and it was like a tackle for loss from Javon Dexter, then a sack from Montez Sweat, and then another sack from Jaquan Brisker. So it was just like bam, 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 the defense getting them on every single play. And that's another guy too, Javon Dexter. I'm telling you guys, right now, I mentioned it several times last year before the season started. I expected him to take a jump last year. He did. He got up to I think it was either 5.5 or 6 sacks last year. He got like 19 quarterback hits last year, and it was all pretty quiet, all things considered, but he looked pretty good. This year coming in, he looks huge. He's chiseled. He looks fast. He's lean. His get off is like immensely improved from what we're hearing. And I'm just telling you guys, he's going to be a problem. Javon Dexter is going to be a real problem on this defense. And if there's any kind of question, I shouldn't say if there's any question. What I should say is if we're going to have a really good pass rush with this team, Javon Dexter is going to be an integral part of that. He really is, because he's going to generate a ton of pressure inside. And there's actually a clip from that we have for you guys that I want to play. It was Grady Jarrett's press conference. We actually have a couple clips from this, but I want to play this one first. It's about him being asked about from Herb Howard, which, by the way, Herb always asks such great questions. This is another good one, asking him about how he's been employing these 5-down linemen in practice a lot lately, and I love hearing this. So I want you guys to hear Grady Jarrett's answer so I can expound on it a little bit more for you guys.
Dennis was just very complimentary to how you're very attentive in meetings. Are you?
We got many different fronts, man. And I think the flexibility of having different fronts, keep the offense on their toes, but whatever. So, 4 down, 5 down, whatever it may be. If we got to go 2 down with me and Dex on the inside holding it down from tackle to tackle, we'll make it happen. So I mean, how whatever coach call, man, we're gonna be able to execute at the highest level, And but about your question, I think creating single matchups across the front gives us the opportunity to just go win mano a mano versus just lining up and letting the offensive lineman tee off on you, certain double teams, So the 5-down look definitely presents some challenges for offense as a nice switch up from the things we do on a base level. And like we talked about Bill earlier, that allows us 3 on the inside to play together all at one at certain times. Me, Dexter, and Bill, and also. But if we got to bring somebody like Tez down to play the 3 or the 4 sometime, he's capable of doing that too. So when you have players that's flexible to play all across the defensive line, it allows coach to call many different things. And I think that's what we definitely have. Guys who want to love to play ball and going to play hard, and wherever he put us at, we're going to try to do our best.
Okay, so obviously the first at the very beginning there, that was not quite the clip we were trying to play. That's okay. We'll get to that.
We will get to that.
But anyways, just listening to that, guys, it makes me so happy to hear that, because okay, so let's think about it from this perspective. We've been hearing Dennis Allen for the last couple months talk about how he likes to have guys who have versatility, how he wants guys to be cross-training at different positions. Kyler Gordon was a prime example. Said he wanted him playing on the outside, wanted him playing some safety, getting him to see what all he can do for when the situation comes where you can be versatile as a defense. And that's kind of what Grady Jarrett was talking about here too, having defensive linemen that can play all up and down the line. He was talking about how him and maybe if it's just him and Jervon Dexter playing from tackle to tackle, just having the 2 down linemen, let's get it done. The whole point is, the idea here is Dennis Allen can use the 11 best players for any given down to him in any given situation to him. He can put his 11 best guys on there, put them in different alignments all across the place, all over the place, and get the best result he wants. So that's the whole point here. And I really like to hear this. And as Aldo mentions here in his graphic, or his comment, I'm sorry, Dennis Allen frequently uses a 5-man front with simulated pressures where players initially appear to be in one position before shifting into a stunt or blitz. And that comes from ESPN, which, again, we've talked about this at length before too. I love how Dennis Allen is exotic with his pressure packages. So much different than what we've seen with Matt Eberflus and how he was pretty vanilla with everything with his, when it came to sending blitzes and whatnot. He didn't do it very often in the first place. Whereas Dennis Allen, he likes to blitz. He likes to blitz often, and he likes to make it look different to where you can't tell what's coming or who's coming. So I love that. I think it's going to pose a lot of problems. I was talking with Aldo before the show tonight. I think Dennis Allen's defense, what we're going to see differently here is we probably will see some more big chunk plays given up, some explosive plays given up here and there that aren't, more so than we may have seen the past couple years with Eberflus's regime. But we're also going to see an uptick in sacks, tackles for loss, pressures, interceptions, things of that nature, because this defense is so much more aggressive and so much more in your face. So I think that's going to play a big part in this. So I'm very interested to see how that correlates. It sounds so far like they're playing really well together. Do you have any thoughts about that initial topic with the 5-man front team? Because like I said, I just think Dexter is going to thrive so much in this defense, in particular with that, with the ability to use him all up and down the front. And hearing them say that, by the way, makes me, it's refreshing to me, because you think about the fact some of the main strengths of this defensive line are your guys, the 3 guys in the interior between Andrew Billings, Jervon Dexter, and Grady Jarrett. If they're not your 3 best defensive linemen, they're 3 of the 4 best. I would say all 3 of them, in my opinion, are better than the guy you've got, no Dangbo, but he hasn't played with this defense yet. So I don't want to jump the gun too much with that yet. But just from what we've seen in their careers, I would argue those guys are better players. So you want to get them on the field as much as you can. So if we're running 5-man fronts, we get all 3 of those guys in the middle with the bookend, defensive ends with Montez Sweat and Dio or whoever they want to deploy out there. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that poses a problem for a lot of offenses. So especially if we can get pressure right away. So, what do you think, Tim? I think it's one of those things where, the versatility plays a big part in this. I think Dexter's going to be a big part of this defense. But again, I like the fact that we're going to get different looks here.
I mean, that's a big reason why Dennis Allen was coveted by Ben Johnson, but went back last year when he was thinking about who his coordinators were going to be if he were to take a head coaching job. So it's the same concept. What does Ben Johnson say? He wants the same things to look different and different things to look the same. Same thing with Dennis Allen. He's doing the same thing with the defense. You never know what you're getting, even though the look might be the same. It may not be the same thing coming at you. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's very exotic with his pressures. And it's not necessarily blitzing. He's just very exotic with how he gets pressure up front. You don't know where that pressure is coming from. So the way he's able to do that, this is part of why he's had such success and why it's so pivotal to have guys like Grady Jarrett and guys like Dio Odangbo and Jervon Dexter and others who you're able to move them around the defensive line. That's why this works, because you have guys that are in that's part like the Kyler Gordon conversation. He wants guys who are able to do multiple things. And it's the same thing with the defensive line here. That way he can he can keep offensive coordinators and head coaches guessing about what they're doing, because it never looks the same. You don't know who's lining up where anything is coming from, and they're just going to punch you in the mouth. And this is what I'm super excited to see this in action because I want to see a defense that will punch you in the face. That's what I've been wanting to see, and I'm hoping that's going in that way. But I want to take a minute and talk about Grady Jarrett because I think of all the offseason signings and the trades and things that were made, this guy might have the biggest impact on the team of anyone. And I'm not talking just about play on the field. I'm talking about his leadership and the way that he is able to work with these young guys. He sees the hunger in them and he wants to help them. And it's, obviously the leadership in his case, it's not just talk. He leads by example, but you can tell that this guy wants to work and help everybody out. He wants to see these guys succeed. And I love it. I love his attitude, his demeanor. You can tell he's incredibly intelligent just by listening to his press conferences. This guy might have coaching in his future, the way he understands the game of football in general. Like, you can tell he is all over it. Like, he is in this playbook. He knows everything already. He is incredibly sharp. So, like I said, I just think that he is going to be the biggest addition in that regard. And obviously, I think Joe Thuney will be in a similar fashion, the way these guys lead by example and just the veteran presence that they have. But Grady Jarrett with that outspoken leadership too, like, he is a guy you want to rally behind. You can tell he's a fun guy, but you can also tell he's got a dark side. When it comes to playing, he's going to smack you. Like, he's not afraid to get after you. And I love it. And you can just tell by his personality what kind of person he is, what kind of player he is. You can tell that it's not all a show. He's a genuine person. And that's why I'm going to ask Aldo to pull up this clip here. And it was the clip that was airing before we got to the right one that we were just listening to. But Mark Carman from CHGO asks, actually, I'll let you guys let's do it, and then I'll break it down. Go ahead.
Dennis was just very complimentary to how you're very attentive in meetings. Are you doing that just because you're so interested in what's being said, or is it also part of leadership for you?
Oh no, I'm trying to get this point across to you in particular. The questions that you asked me, like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I haven't got to where I'm at trying to play a role to coddle to somebody's emotions, to make somebody think highly of me. I am me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be me wherever I go. And so I feel like that can answer your question in a way that, I go about my business the right way. I put my best foot forward every day. And things that are noticed about me, that's noticed about me, but I'm not doing it for a pat on the back. I don't need it. And so how I go about my business, And if it makes other people around me better, that's better for the whole group. And if nobody picks up from it, I'm still gonna do what I do. So I'm gonna do what I do.
Go ahead, Jeff, because I'm going to rant on that for a minute.
I think I see where he was trying to come from with the question. Like, are you trying to be a leader, trying to show yourself as a leader by being that way? But to me, it's just kind of disingenuous. And I think that's the way Grady Jarrett took it too, because if you think about it from the perspective of the player, like, you don't get this far in life if you're not paying attention. Get this far as a player, I should say, get this far as a vet playing 10 years or whatever it's been for him now, without being attentive in meetings. That's got to be the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. I mean, obviously that's part of being as good as he is, part of being a long established veteran. He's attentive in meetings. It's not just because he's trying to cater to, the young players on the team, or trying to like get on the good graces with the coaching staff. I mean, this guy is a guy who has had nothing but a distinguished career, nothing but people who have lauded him for who he is as a person, not just as a player, but out in the community, how great of an individual this guy is. Like, it just absolutely shocks me that he would even consider asking something like that, knowing full well that he's got to know full well that this guy obviously does this as part of who he is as a player, because like I said before, you don't get to this point to be a highly successful, productive player at this point in his career without having that. So, and I like the way Grady Jarrett responded to it. Like, look, and this is exactly what Aldo's saying here too. 100%. Like, I'm going to tell you this. The way he said it to him was, look, I'm going to tell you this specifically because of the questions you asked me. He was talking directly to Carmen when he said that. Mark Carmen was the reporter asking the question. He said, you specifically asked me questions, so I want to make this plain as day to you, basically. I do this because this is who I am. You know, this is how you get to be where I am. You know what I mean? And I think he was trying to get it through to his head that, like, that's not an intelligent question to ask. I'm sorry, but it's just not. And I don't, you know, it's to me, it is kind of like a slap in the face to the player. Like, what do you mean? Am I paying attention in meetings for this reason other than I want to be a better football player and be the best I can be for my team? So go ahead with your rant, Tim. But I just thought I thought he handled it well. I thought he handled it with class. I did not care for the question. I thought that he, like I said, I thought the way he responded was well. And I like that he mentioned right off the bat to him, like, you know, I want you to know specifically because of the questions that you asked me, you need to hear this. I like that. Matter of fact, I loved it. But go ahead, Tim.
No, absolutely loved the way Grady Jarrett handled that. He did it in a way as in, like, look, I see what I understand your question. This is my answer. But it was more like, what I really mean by this is, don't you ever ask me some asinine, stupid question like that again. Look, in my opinion, a couple things with this. Number one, how dare you question a man's integrity that you don't even know personally, number one. And number two, with the kind of career that Grady Jarrett has had and the way that he represents himself in public, he clearly is not that kind of person. So to question the man's integrity the way that he did, well, do you only do it because people are watching? Yeah, asinine you sound. You sound like an idiot. If I were in a meeting with, or let me ask you this, in your work meetings, do you only listen because you know that Adam Hogue is watching you? Like, give me a break, dude. How dare you ask somebody a question like that? And look, we have talked about CHGO over the last a couple weeks back, and Mark Carmen's name was brought up many times in the chat. Jeff and I don't think we actually brought up his name in person, but this was the final straw for me. Total clown move. He should never, ever, 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 ever be allowed back into Halas Hall to ask questions at a press conference ever again, period. If that's how you're going to ask questions, then you don't belong in there. That's not reporting. That's questioning a man's integrity that you don't even know personally. Number one. Number two, I've now lost my train of thought because I'm getting wild here. But
did you have number two in the first place?
But my other point with this is, obviously, this was not the first time he's asked a stupid question. The fact that Grady Jarrett looked at him and said, the way you're asking me these questions, or not the way you're, I'd have to paraphrase because I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like, of the essence, the questions that you're asking. And he didn't say question, he said questions, because it wasn't the first. It was almost like he was insinuating that there have been multiple questions by Mark Carmen, maybe not to just Grady Jarrett, but to other players or whoever that are just stupid questions that are disrespectful, that have nothing to do with football.
Well, hang on. Okay. To just play a little devil's advocate here, Muck Muck's got a decent point. I'm not going to say he's not a brain surgeon because I don't want to question the man's intelligence. I don't know how intelligent the guy is. I don't care for a lot of his questions. I will say that, but he probably.
Well, hang on. If that's the case, but hold on.
Before you continue, though, he may have thought it was a legit question. I don't like the way he posed it. Is the whole problem with me because like if you actually sit down and think about your question, you should have probably realized it was not the question to ask. But go ahead, Tim.
Well, my point is, he doesn't have to be smart or a brain surgeon. If he's asking questions like this, he has no business being in the room asking the questions. I don't care how he frames it. It's insane. I don't care if it was a mistake or not. There are people who have been fired for less in the workplace for doing far less things than that. That is questioning a man's integrity, whether he meant to do it or not. That's how it came off. And that is a professional football player who, by the way, has had a Hall of Fame type career and has been nothing but a leader for this franchise since he's been here. And to ask him something like that, questioning how he is in a meeting room, questioning his integrity in that meeting room, acting as if he only does those things just to put out a farce for the players that are in that room with him, is nonsense. And he should not be in there asking those questions. And if this is not the first time he's asked a stupid question like this, which we've all seen the press conferences, we know that, in fact, it is not the first time he's asked a stupid question. He should not be in there. Why is CHGO even allowing him to be in there to ask those questions? Period.
I'm not gonna speculate on any of that, and I don't want to make it sound like we're slamming them necessarily either. We've talked about in the past how we don't necessarily care for all the ways they've gone about things in the past, but that's not my place to speculate on why they did. I will say this: the people who are with CHGO, the Adam Hogues, the Adam Johns, the Greg Braggs, he's a friend of the show. He's one of our first guests we ever had. They're good people and good reporters, good content creators.
I'm not dogging on CHGO. I'm just saying that this is a reflection on CHGO.
Yeah, this is not a good thing to be. It was not a good question to ask. And all I'm saying is, like I said, if you would actually just sat back before you actually asked the question, just think about what you're about to ask and how it might come across to the player, you probably wouldn't have asked the question. And that's, if you're not able to think about that, well, that's a different story altogether. And maybe like Tim said, you shouldn't be asking questions in the first place. So, and I see you guys talking about Nick Moriano being let go and they're them keeping him. Again, I'm not going to speculate on that. I personally prefer Nick. I think he's a phenomenal journalist. I think he does a great job. So to me, from a journalistic standpoint, that one doesn't make sense. But again, I don't run the business. I'm not, it's not up to me to make those decisions. So, I digress. It is what it is. But I thought, like I said, guys, Grady Jarrett, the way he handled that was phenomenal. And MC for 10 years and 36 and a half sacks for an interior rusher, that's pretty damn good. It really is.
And he missed an entire season with injury.
And again, yeah, that's a great point to also, team. And he's such a phenomenal run defender as well. This is a guy that just I believe he's been an all-pro player in his past too. So this is a guy that's just gotten it done consistently his entire career. Dennis Allen played in the same division with him for year in and year out. Look,
for the past 10 years, he would have been the best defensive tackle in football had it not been for Aaron Donald.
Possibly, yeah, you could probably make the argument for that outside of Donald. Yeah, maybe. I'm just saying the guy is a phenomenal player. And like I said, I love the way he handled it. I don't want to spend any more time on it. I thought that was really good to see him. I don't want to say put him in his place, but let him know, like, hey, man, that's kind of bullshit.
He did.
You know what I mean?
You can say that. 100% you can say that.
So I appreciated that. But anyways, like I said,
I put him in his place.
Yeah, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to dog on anybody or say anything bad about another company or another podcaster or anything like that, because we're all Bears fans. We're all trying to accomplish the same goals, which is see the Bears win a Super Bowl. But there's a respect factor that lies in there too, and it just really just takes a little bit of thinking to realize whether or not you're crossing the line or not. So,
well, and my last point with it is that was Grady Jarrett absolutely handled that with the utmost respect back to Carmu. Obviously didn't show him the same level of respect with his question, but Grady Jarrett did a terrific job of showing respect back and putting him in play in his own, putting Carm in place respectfully the way he did without, because if that was me, I'd be thinking about jumping over the table and strangling the guy for making a comment about my integrity like that. So hats off to Grady Jarrett for having the demeanor that he does and for handling that situation the way he did.
Vizo, I heard the same thing, and it was Greg Braggs posted it on Twitter that that Dexter was the run stopper of the interior line. Somebody asked Braggs on Twitter who he saw was doing the best job of, like you said, stopping the run during the scrimmage today, and he said, he only mentioned two. I mean, it was just Javon Dexter was all he said. Didn't mention any other names, didn't say any other words. It was just Javon Dexter. So that says a lot to me too. I mean, it's like this guy is consistently showing people that he's going to be a real piece to this defense. And I'm telling you guys, I think he's going to take a big jump this year, an even bigger one than last year. I think he's going to be a significant piece of his defense. And I think he's going to be a top flight football player in the years to come. I really do. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. We'll wait and see, but that's just what I see from him. So let's move on a little bit. We can talk some more about practice today, obviously, if we get to it with you guys' questions at the end, which, by the way, a quick reminder, if you guys do have questions for us or anything else you want us to talk about, we got about 25 minutes left. So throw those questions in there for us, and we'll do our best to address them at the end for you. But a couple things I want to talk about before we get done tonight. The first one, there's a couple things. So let me just start with this. There was a press conference this week with some of the players. There's pressers like just about every day during training camp, but there was one with Nahshon Wright, who, as you guys know, is the big, tall, lanky corner, long, lengthy corner that Dennis Allen seems to really like in his defense. He's been starting him alongside Tyreek Stevenson with Jalen Johnson out. He's been getting a lot of first-team reps all the way back to like OTA. So this is a guy that spent the early part of his career, I believe, in Dallas with Coach Al Harris. Then he was in Minnesota last year. And now he's back here with the Bears, obviously, at this point in time. So he's looked pretty good. And we have a clip here for you guys. He was asked by Courtney Cronin about his matchup with Rome. And I thought this was really interesting because it showed me both something about him and something about Rome that I want to dig into just a little bit.
When you use your length, I mean, you get to go against a big guy like Rome out there. Like, does that kind of feel like a mano-y-mano sort of thing? Like, get, his best, your best, and be able to, like, match up physical attributes?
Yeah, it's been a healthy matchup. He got the deep ball on me today. Even in the run game, he's super physical, kind of getting after me and just making me take it up a notch. So, yeah, it's been a healthy matchup for sure.
Full disclosure, did not know he was 6'6".
He's big. I mean, everybody talks about how big he was. I didn't know he's quite 6'6" either, but I knew he was tall, at least 6'4". So, I mean, he's a big boy for a corner, man. And for somebody who's long and lengthy and could apparently move. And he was talking about how Rome got him, over the top. He beat him downfield once. But what stood out to me when he was talking about Rome was how physical he's playing in the run game. Because we heard Rome talk about at the beginning of the offseason how one of his points of emphasis was getting stronger in order to be able to take the press from the defenders and to be able to be stronger in the run game, because he didn't quite realize the play strength that he would need as a rookie to be an effective player in this league. And so it shows me that, number one, his mindset is showing that nature, that he needs to get after it in the run game. And number two, he actually did get stronger and he's become more effective in that aspect. So I like seeing it. I think this Nahshon Wright kid's got a real chance here. I would be absolutely shocked at this point if he didn't make the team. Now, whether he starts or not when Jalen Johnson comes back, that's a different story altogether because of how well Tyreek Stevenson has reportedly been playing too. So I will say that, again, I'd be shocked if he didn't make the team. But yes, I think it's I think he's a legitimate player here, and he may even get some real opportunity with the defense. And by the way, Kyler Gordon did not play today. He was out with an injury, so they were also down him as well. So I believe that Josh Blackwell was getting the first team reps at the nickel because he is the backup nickel for at least according to the depth chart, and he has been for the last couple of years. So anything you want to add to that, Tim?
Did I hear it right that Terrell Smith was playing safety in this joint practice? Is that correct? Or he's been working at safety?
Terrell Smith? I don't believe so. He's been working. He was playing at corner today. I know that. I don't know if he got any reps at safety or not.
I could have sworn I heard them say that he was getting reps at safety today, but I could be wrong.
I didn't see it myself. I don't know.
Well, it would have been Dennis Allen they asked about it, I believe. So who was talking? Maybe it was Byard talking about Smitty, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look. But in any case, no, for one, it just shows like this secondary room is, again, getting even deeper than it was before. Like, this has to be the best DB room in football, period. I don't care what anybody says. It is so deep. You have multiple starters in the defensive back room. For
I
sure.
think the Eagles would tell you that, they're pretty happy with what they got back there too, but
I don't know about depth-wise compared to this.
What's that?
I don't know about compared to the depth of this team. Maybe you could
maybe
make an argument for starter with other teams because, I mean, Jalen and Tyreek, and then there might be some teams that have two guys a better combo there. But as far as overall depth, I have a hard time believing anybody's better.
It is pretty damn good. The Broncos, Tom, they have a pretty damn good DB room as well, and they're headlined by, in my opinion, the best corner in the entire league in Pat Surtain, and I don't think it's really all that close. I think he's far and away better than just about everybody else. But that's just my opinion. So, there's a question here from McFact. He wanted to know if Allen runs a 3-4 or 4-3. He runs a 4-3 defense. He's pretty multiple though. He gets like I said, I think he likes to get pretty exotic with the way he runs things. And there was a question.
Well, it sounds like they're in the dime more than anything right now. They've been running
some dime a lot. And obviously Herb asked the question about them running so much 5-down linemen lately. Somebody in the chat, I know J2K mentioned in the chat that he saw a stat on Twitter that Dennis Allen only blitzed, I think it was 18% of the time. Then Aldo found a stat from Sports Illustrated that the Saints last year were 20th in the league at blitz rate. I think it was like 25% or something along those lines. I can't remember for sure exactly without the graphic here in front of me. But in any case, that's still more than Flus was blitzing, and I'll have to do some more research on it myself, but here's the graphic. Thanks, Aldo. According to Sports Illustrated, in 2024, the Saints ranked 25th in blitz rate at 20.6%, so I got those numbers mixed up. And the year before, they were 20th at 22.5%. So it's kind of middle of the pack, it sounds like, or somewhat close to that. But as J2K mentioned earlier, too, the way he sends his guys, you don't really know where the 4 are coming from all the time. So that's what I mean when I say exotic. He might only be sending 4, but you don't know what 4 are always coming. So like Cliff says, he's hiding his rusher, stacking a line, some guys rush while others drop back. You don't know what all is going on all the time. So the blitz rate, J2K says, Flus is actually more. I don't have that statistic in front of me. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I can't confirm whether or not that's the case. But it just seems, from watching, it's different. And obviously Dennis Allen's defenses get more pressure, and that's probably because of the fact that he just deploys them in a better way. But again, it does, like I said, it does kind of seem like he's bringing it a little bit more. But again, that might just be, and I wonder if that's a third down thing too. That's kind of what I'm wondering, if maybe Dennis Allen likes to blitz on third down a little bit more than most people do. I'd like to see that statistic if we can find it. But in any case, and that can be a topic for another day we can get into a little bit. But to kind of move on, there's a couple other things I want to dig into. The first one, and this is going to kind of go in regards to our head coach. So the first one was the press conference last week with Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator, and he was talking about a myriad of different things, but I can't remember who the question was asked to him by, but he started talking about the different coaches that he's been around, the different head coaches he's been around. And he had some emphatically positive things to say about Ben Johnson. I want you guys to hear it straight out of the Dragon's mouth. So if you have that clip, Aldo, if you could roll that for us.
So you kind of see, who wants to grind, who wants to work, who has the X's and O's down, who has great personality. I've been very fortunate to be around a number of guys that become head coaches. D'Amico Ryans is another one. I shared offers with Sean McVay. So I've been fortunate. I know what a good coach looked like because I've been around all of them. So I can tell you for a fact, we got a damn good head coach here. A damn good head coach. I'm just telling you. I know what they look like. I've been around them. So, and it worked for Mike Shanahan, John Fox, Gary Kubiak, all Super Bowl winning or went to Super Bowl head coaches. So,
he just said, I know for a fact that we have a damn good head coach. He didn't say, I think. He didn't say, in my opinion. He said, I know for a fact that we have a damn good head coach. And the way he said it so passionately, and like I said before, emphatically, that kind of tells me something. It's not just reporters saying it. It's not just us fans saying it. it's not just people in the media who are, and even some of the players who are just excited. You got another coach on the staff who's saying like, dude, and I was on the staff before, mind you, by the way.
Been with the other guys.
I was with the other staff. This guy's a damn good head coach. That is saying something to me. He did not
Especially when he's been around Super Bowl coaches. And he's saying
like,
that.
He actually went out of his way, like I said, to bring up the guys he's worked with, mentioned them by names, talked about the places they've been, what they've done, and then he just look. I'm telling you guys, this guy is like that. And it's something to me to hear another guy speak. Look, if we're not optimistic already, look, and then we talk about this all the time. It's the off season. It's on paper. All this stuff. There's a lot of I guess optimism is the word. There's just a lot of us looking forward to what's going to happen here. But I just think it's really, I really think we got a lot to look forward to here, guys. I think it's going to be real. I think we're really actually going to see some good ball here, especially from what we heard about practice today. The Bears played damn well by all accounts. There were some offensive miscues. Heard about a couple false starts, things of that nature. But for the most part, I heard about a lot of good happening offensively too. So I'm particularly happy about hearing that. And obviously the defense, again, as we've said before, they're ahead right now. And we heard that in practice today too. They played really well, whereas, maybe the offense had some moments where weren't as good. So again, I like where they're at. There's another thing I want to bring up here, talking about our head coach. He was asked over the past weekend, after our show on Friday, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but I can't remember who the reporter was either. Asked him a question about who he thought were the most reliable players on the team to get the ball in their hands right now. And this is the thing about Ben Johnson we talk about all the time, how he's never going to be afraid to give you guys the answers. He's never going to be afraid to tell us what's really on his mind, what's going on, because he knows what's going on. He has an idea of what everything is, of everything that's happening. So like he's not afraid to give you a straight answer on this stuff. And he paused at first when they asked him this question, which I thought was kind of something to consider too, because he didn't just come out and say something right away. He wanted to think about his answer. And after he paused for a second, the very first name that came out, Tim, did you happen to hear who it was? The very first name he mentioned, Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet was the first name he mentioned. And we talked to you guys about this before. I expect Cole Kmet to be a red zone target. We know how sure-handed he is. He had one drop last season. I think he's had 2 drops in 2 years. The guy is about as reliable as it gets. Yep. He's a third down guy. He's a red zone guy. He's massive. He's strong. He blocks well. And if he's going to be a reliable target in the passing game, again, it's just another weapon to have. So he started to show a lot of improvement in his receiving skills last year. I thought especially the way he was moving. I just think he's going to – look, a lot of people talked about, trade ideas for him and stuff because of the fact that they drafted Colston 11. We told you guys many times it makes no sense to us because the fact they could run the 12 so much. So I just think it makes a lot of sense to utilize this guy if you have him, especially if, we've seen Ben Johnson like to use the 12 personnel. And he's talked about how he wants to use a lot here too and have the best 12 package of any team in the league. So that was the first guy he mentioned. The second guy he mentioned was DJ Moore. So again, that's not a big surprise either. I've told you guys this before many times. Just get the ball in the guy's hands and let him go do something. That's what he does best. You just give him the ball and he's gonna make at least somebody miss every single time. He's breaking at least one tackle. I can promise you that. And then the third guy he mentioned was Rome. And so after that, he kind of talked about the receivers a little bit and how they're working and doing a good job. And then the last thing he said was he did bring up Olamide Zaccheaus, who's had a really good day at practice today from all accounts. He made some good plays. So, look, Razzle, I see your point. We all talk about practices in the past. We've all had, off season in the past where we like what we're seeing, drinking the Kool-Aid, as you say. I'm going to choose to be an optimist and see what we're seeing here. And if you actually look at this from an objective lens, and you look at the head coach they have right now, the way he's handling things, the way he talks, the way he answers questions, the way he employs his team, the way he's assembled his staff, the way that they're doing things and handling their business. If you can't see it looking differently than it has in the past, I don't know what to tell you. I totally agree with you that they have to prove it. I'm not going to deny that. But what can we do right now? The games don't start for another month. So all we can do right now is speculate. And I'm going to speculate what I see right now. And what I see is a lot of improvement. And I'm happy with what I see. I think it's going to look pretty good. Whether it comes all to fruition right away, I don't know. I've said many times in the past, defenses start faster than offenses. I don't think the offense is going to be humming on all cylinders right away. I really don't. I would hope by halfway through the season and really towards the back end of the season that they're really clicking and they're starting to roll, because I think you can make a playoff push if that happens. But again, Razzle, I do see where you're coming from, bud, because, we do want them, we hear this every year where it's like we all have this optimism and they so many times have put us down. But, dude, I mean, how good is it looking right now? The defense looked fantastic today, and the offense is showing some good things too. So I just think it's, again, and Viso, you got a great point here. Telling fans how to fan is a lost cause. I mean, you just got to understand that, raining down pessimism because you think one thing looks one way and maybe another fan looks another way, that doesn't really help anything. I agree with what you're saying. We do this thing where we drink this Kool-Aid a lot, but I just think it looks different, dude. I really do. I just think it looks so much different now than it has. If I have to bite the bullet in a couple months, then I got to bite the bullet in a couple months. And I agree with you, Aldo. I don't think anybody's here crowning them either. I've said before, I think more like 9 wins is what we're going to see this year. But I do think that's an improvement. That's an improvement on what we have seen. And I like it. So, it is what it is. Fan how you want to fan. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I just think that I like what I see so far. I am optimistic about it. And, again, that's the coach I wanted this offseason. I don't know who anybody else wanted, but we got the guy I wanted, and I like the way he's doing things right now. So anything you want to add to that, Tim? I got to see if we have any questions in here before we're running out of time here. You're muted, by the way.
Oh, the only thing I would say is I don't think we've been overly optimistic about the gameplay aspect of everything. It's more of the difference in how they're practicing and how they're playing more physically and how they're being deployed differently and all of those things. I don't think we were raving on statistical numbers or anything like that. Caleb Williams threw 4 touchdowns in this game, and there's 3 interceptions on the defense, because we know none of that stuff really matters because it's not really indicative of what a game situation is and where they're going to be in 4 weeks from now.
It's just the lack of consideration for context in those situations is the problem with all. It's it's training camp practice. There's so many variables involved there. You're trying out different things. You're working on new things. It's you can't rate a guy based on his camp stats. It's the dumbest thing in the world. I can't stand that. It just makes no sense to me. If you want to say there's things that don't look great, you want to be objective about it, that's fine. But you can't say, oh, he's going to be terrible because he went 11 of 17 in camp and threw 3 interceptions today. That's just, dude, I mean, what do you think we're in camp for? To practice and to get better. So, Cliff asked, there's a Miami guy in one of their chats said Caleb was 6 out of 18 today. Is that true? I mean, I don't know. I doubt it. And even if it is true, I mean, I don't care. But 6 of 18, I don't think that can be accurate, because I heard a lot of reporters and whatnot, people who were at practice today on Twitter were talking about a lot of nice plays that were made. And it sure sounded like there were a whole hell of a lot more than 6 completions made during practice. So, I mean, I don't want to speak with authority on that, but I don't think that that's true. So, and Super Bowl Bear says no pretty emphatically himself. So I would tend to assume that that's not true. So, do you got anything for us last minute here, Tim? I kind of ran through all my notes, and I'm not seeing any more questions in here unless you guys have some for us that I missed. Do you have anything you want to get to last minute here?
No, there was something in Ben Johnson's press conference today that he said that really spoke to me and got me fired up for him. And I cannot remember for the life of me what it was. And I wish I would have saved that spot in the video and so I'd remember it now, but I can't remember it. So if you guys haven't seen his press conference today, goes us to, before we get to the questions, we have to discuss this. There was a press conference today, late this afternoon, with Kevin Warren.
Oh, yes.
I didn't get to finish the entire video, but in essence, the focus has not changed. They are staying with Arlington Heights. That is the only, and as a matter of fact, Aldo, can you play the clip of that real quick?
We are still extremely focused on Arlington Heights. That is the only location in Cook County that will allow us to build a stadium, the new Chicago Bears stadium with a fixed roof. We're making great progress. We are now in the process of having weekly meetings with the leaders at the Village of Arlington Heights. The biggest item that remains, that has remained, is the fact of this mega project bill that was on the docket in the spring, but it was not put forth for a vote. But it's very, very important that passes, because without that legislation, we're not able to proceed forward.
So yeah,
First thing, Arlington Heights is the only option that they have. It's the only place that they can build what they want.
I think they've said that before, though, recently.
Well, regardless, to me, I took that as like that's the direction going. And if you guys don't know, and he just explained a little bit in there, the only thing holding this up is a bill that legislation that needs to be passed in Illinois in order for this to begin, which is not happening now. Thankfully, I live in Indiana, because if I'm being totally frank, you guys' legislation in Illinois is ridiculous and impossible to get through good things, it seems like. But because I live 5 miles off the state line, what are you talking about? I hear about this stuff all the time. Regardless, doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon. So I don't know, but I hope that they're able to start building. He said they should be able to at least move some dirt in 2025 still. Is that going to happen? I don't know.
Aldo says the stadium's not going to be built. The Illinois General Assembly will not pass that bill in the fall. Maybe next spring, that fall sessions will need more votes.
Yeah.
I don't know, Aldo. You are way more in tune with that than I would be,
Yep.
Being a resident of the area. So I look, if you're saying that, I would imagine that that's probably the case. And look, I mean, they've been cutting it kind of close for a while now, saying we're not focused solely on Arlington Heights. We're kind of talking about the lakefront property too. They really just shifted gears about 6 months ago, maybe. So, I mean, when you're just now saying like, okay, now our focus totally is on Arlington Heights because now we finally got the tax break we wanted in the first place, because we did all this negotiating with the city. Well, now can we actually get the shovels in the dirt in 2025 as he's been talking about wanting to do? So, I just, I understand there's a lot of people who want the team to remain in the city. I understand the reasoning behind what they're trying to do here. The Arlington Heights property is a big, wonderful piece of property. You can build around it, do a lot of things with it. You can have the Dome Stadium that you're able to have different events in that you couldn't have before, Super Bowls and concerts and all kinds of shit like that. So I get that whole premise. I really do. And for me personally, as a Bears fan, when I go to games, I'll be traveling from Indiana for the most part. So I'll be liking to take that train up into Arlington since it stops right there, right in front of the damn stadium. So, that would be a preference for me as opposed to like driving in and out of traffic in Chicago. So, I mean, everybody's going to have their preferences for this. There's so many other teams that do this, who build their stadiums outside of the city in the suburbs. So it's just kind of where it's going these days, but it is what it is. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure that train is the one that goes through Terre Haute up through Chicago, too. I think that might also go through Arlington Heights because I know there is a train that goes from Terre Haute to Chicago. So I'm thinking it could be the same one. Yeah.
It's got to be. But anyways, so we're running out of time, guys. We're going to have to get out of here, but we appreciate, I see Bearskeep mentioned my AC/DC shirt, said it was sharp. I appreciate that. It's one of my favorite shirts I have, one of my favorite band shirts. I think I've mentioned somebody asked me the other day, it was Aldo and somebody else asked me how many band shirts I have. It's like, I want to say 30 or 40. I did a rough count one day and it's at least 30 for sure. So my AC/DC shirt is definitely one of my favorites. It just looks to me like something that Brian Johnson would have worn on stage when he's singing, So as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, I got to have that. It just feels like them, like like I'd be up on stage with them kind of thing. So love the shirt. I appreciate the compliment. As we said, guys, we're running out of time though. So we'll have to save everything else for next week, but we appreciate you guys being here as always. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys aren't already, you can find us on X or Twitter. My handle is @_Jeff Willis. My partner here is @TimWillis24. You can find our executive producer at Barroom Network. That's Aldo Gandia. We have tons of great content here on the channel besides just our show. You can email us at WillisTwinTowersPodcast@gmail.com with any questions or content you want us to get to on the show in the future. And as I said, we're here every Friday night, guys, at 7 Central Time. So until next week, we'll see you guys. Bear down.
Da Bears.
This is the journey that will never end. The struggle to push beyond all limits and redefine the meaning of power. New and mightier foes will arise. New adventures will begin. And Goku and his fellow warriors will be ready. Until then, we bid you farewell.
The Willis Twin Towers podcast is a Barroom production. Jeff and Tim Willis are the producers and co-hosts. Aldo Gandia is the director and executive producer. The opening theme music was produced by Tim Willis. Any copywritten material used was under the Fair Use Act for commentary, criticism, and news reporting. This show is also available in audio-only format and can be found wherever you download podcasts. Just search for Barroom Network.